Hello ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs. We are back with another video, and this video actually means a lot to me. This is sort of a tribute to a very dear friend of mine. I was really fortunate to have met and have worked with Italian master chef Pasquale Carpino. If any of you are from Canada, surely you know Chef Pasquale from Pasquale's Kitchen Express. It's a show that was a Canadian staple for many years. He wrote many cookbooks. He was an opera singer, and I had the really good fortune of being his sous chef at Taormina Ristorante. And so a lot of these Italian recipes that I'm teaching you actually were taught to me by Chef Pasquale Carpino, and they are just excellent recipes. Now, Chef Pasquale really taught me that Italian food is all about simplicity. It is about the quality of your ingredients, and it's about how you put them together. Nothing represents that more than making a fresh Italian tomato sauce. Now, when you go to the grocery store, there's all sorts of tomato sauces. There's all sorts of tomato canned products. And here's the bottom line. Most pre-made sauces just stink. They're just not good. The only pre-made sauce that I can think of that is actually really good is Rao's tomato sauce. And it's the only sauce that I think is made with really good quality tomatoes. I'm not getting paid any money to say this, but you do have to pay through the nose for a jar of that sauce. So for like a 28-ounce jar, it's almost like, it's almost $10 for a jar. And what I'm going to show you today is that you can make something yourself for much less money that is probably even better than Rao's tomato sauce. All right, so let's get right into this recipe. Now, there are many different ways to make tomato sauce, and there are a million different recipes out there. And like I said before, this is a recipe that was taught to me by an Italian master chef. So, what is the most important thing that you must know to make a really good tomato sauce? And that is, you have to choose the right tomatoes, okay? You have to choose San Marzano tomatoes, okay? It's literally the only way you're gonna make good tomato sauce is with San Marzano tomatoes. San Marzano tomatoes are similar to plum tomatoes. They come from a very specific area in Italy where the soil is slightly volcanic. It's very rich. The tomato itself has a very high pulp to water ratio, and it's just so full of flavor. So when you go to the grocery store and you look through all the tomatoes and you go down the aisles, make sure that you find yourself San Marzano tomatoes. Unfortunately, most other canned tomato products are just not good. So when you open up a jar of San Marzano tomatoes, or any tomato that you want to make a sauce with, here's basically how you know it's a really good tomato. If you can open a can of tomatoes and you can just eat them right out of the can because they're so good, that is the tomato that you want to make tomato sauce with. So these tomatoes here, for example, you can just open up the can and like literally I can sit here and just eat these right out of the can. There is so much flavor in these tomatoes, and you should do a comparison side by side one day. You should buy like a cheap can of tomatoes and a can of San Marzano tomatoes and just get in there and try them both right out of the can, and you will see what I mean. Like, this is already almost good sauce right here in the can without even cooking it. Okay, now I'm using a wide pan versus a tall pot because the more surface area that you have here, the faster things evaporate. And essentially, to cook this sauce, all I want to do is just evaporate some of that water. So in a flat, wide pan like this, it's very quick and easy to do. All right, so I'm gonna put in some olive oil, just like that. And for those of you who are gonna leave me comments stating that cooking with olive oil is just the worst thing in the world and we're all gonna die, chill out. Not true. All right, so some sliced garlic. Why sliced and not minced? Because the larger you cut the garlic, the less likely to burn it is. And if you mince it, you can burn it really quickly. So I sliced it. So I'm just gonna cook the garlic here for like 30 seconds. Not very long at all. Now, as soon as the garlic gets all nice and toasty like that, see it's starting to turn brown a little bit, that's when you add your tomato. Okay, and what you do here is just crush it by hand. All right, easy cleanup. Okay, now I just want to bring it to a little simmer. And you can see how nice and thick these San Marzano tomatoes are already. This is not very watery, so you're not going to need to simmer this very long. What I want to do now is just get some of that water to evaporate so the sauce can be really nice and thick. Okay. Another thing we're going to add is salt. Salt and tomatoes are best friends. Okay, a little bit of salt. If you're not experienced with this recipe, just do a little bit of salt, and then after a while you taste it and you adjust as you go. Okay, just a nice easy simmer. And what I'm doing here is I'm just putting in some hand-torn basil. Now, basil is something you add towards the end of cooking, because if you cook it for a long time, the flavor sort of diminishes. So you want to add basil towards the end, and in many dishes you actually add it after you're done cooking. You add it right before you serve it. Okay, I love big chunky pieces of basil like this, and I'm just going to put it in there and cook this out for another 5 minutes or so, just so the basil has a little chance to wilt and the flavor sort of permeates through the sauce. Okay guys, so we're now at the 20-minute mark. The sauce is nice and thick, and I'm just going to give it a little taste here. Beautiful. Now here's where you're going to adjust the seasoning. So I like a lot of salt, so I'm just going to put a little more. And a little bit of fresh ground pepper. The pepper is optional, but I love it. And here you go, this thick, luxurious sauce. It only took about 25 minutes to make, and this will rival anything that you can find pre-made in a jar. And you can serve it obviously with pasta, you can use it for meats, fish, all sorts of Italian dishes. Now what I want you to take away from this video is that making really good tomato sauce does not have to take you hours and hours and hours of simmering. If you start out with a few simple, fresh, really flavorful ingredients, you can bring this together in about 25 minutes. The only reason that you have to simmer a sauce for like 3 or 4 hours is if you're starting out with ingredients that don't have much flavor to them, and so it'll take you 3 to 4 hours just to build up any kind of flavor by adding in all sorts of ingredients and spices and all that stuff. But that's not what real Italian food is about. Real Italian food is about fresh, simple, good. Thank you guys very much for watching this video. Please do not forget to hit that subscribe button and give it a thumbs up. The more subscriptions I have, the more time that I can spend making videos for you. I hope you guys really enjoy this recipe. Let me know what you think in the comments.